Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the latest podcast of AI Guides. And today I am joined by Geronimo De Abreu. Welcome, Geronimo.
Thanks, Jan. Thanks for having me.
Very glad to have you here. So you are the CTO at DealMaker. Can we start off just by telling people what's DealMaker and what does the CTO do there?
Sure. Yeah, that's. I love that question. DealMaker is a platform to empower companies and people raising capital to get through that process of raising capital through non-conventional means, meaning crowdfunding or retail investors instead of venture capital. So we automated the whole process and make it really easy for issuers. We call them issuers because they are issuing shares to go through the process and run their companies and not worry about raising capital.
So it's democratizing access to capital.
Basically, yeah, we that's what we do, and the way we do that is making the experience, the investment experience, an e-commerce experience. So you're shopping shares instead of shopping shoes or something else.
So you're like the Shopify of raising money.
Yeah, we love that comparison because we think the retail investment world is in the state that the e-commerce world was a few years back, and we really want to get in that wave.
Excellent. And so as the CTO, so tell people just like how big is the company and what's the role of the CTO include?
Yeah, so we are right now about 100 people, and my role specifically is related to everything on the tech side. So we have an engineering team that takes care of building the platform. We have around 25 or 25 engineers. We have a DevOps team. We have a machine learning team, and we have a tech support team. So all those teams are my responsibility, and I work with managers on the different teams to maintain the platform, expand the platform, make sure it's reliable, it's stable, and R&D. It's a big piece of my time.
Okay, so we'll probably come back to a bit of the R&D later, but first, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to work at DealMaker?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Venezuela. That's my home country, and I got into computers early on in my life, but not by any conventional means. My father had an old computer, and I kind of like playing games there. So I decided to do computer engineering for my undergrad, and fell in love with coding and writing software. So I went to work on startups. I loved that environment, that small company environment, and being kind of the owner of your own work. And did that for a number of years. Then started my own companies there, software companies. And then I decided that the political and economic situation was getting complicated, and I was looking for ways to move my career forward. So I came to Canada. I did an MBA at Rodman, and I was really intrigued with a part of the program that is called CDL. That's the Creative Destruction Lab, and that was kind of the whole motivation behind coming here.
Can you tell people what is the Creative Destruction Lab?
Yeah, the Creative Destruction Lab is it's a lab that was founded by one of a few professors from Rodman School of Business, and their goal is to help ventures that are science focused mainly to move forward on their processes to grow those companies. They don't take any equity in the companies, but they give them lots of access to investors, to advice, to expertise. So when a company gets into the CDL, they get in a room with a group of really smart people that tells them, ask them questions and start helping them move and navigate their growth. And I don't know where the number is, but right now they have grown those companies in an amount of equity that I don't want to say a number, but it's
a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Sure. It's great.
Yeah. So that's where I spent most of my time at Rodman, really. And I started working with startups there, and they have a big focus. They have different streams, but one of them is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And they have cohorts of companies that are mainly focused on machine learning and any application of AI. I got paired with one of these companies. The company, speaking with the founders, they found out I knew how to code, so they brought me in as a part-time employee with them, and I was doing a bit of market research and more MBA-focused work, but a lot of my time was helping the CTO build their machine learning engine and all the data backend. So that then I finished my program, then I started working for other companies, and then I found DealMaker 2 years ago. 2 years and a few months ago, I started meeting with Rebecca and Matt, and the founders, and we saw a really good fit, and I joined the company in February 2020.
And so once you get to DealMaker, can you explain how it was working when you got there in terms of like providing this matching process? And then how does AI get introduced into the process to improve it?
Yeah, so the first iteration of DealMaker was aimed or targeted to lawyers running these deals, high volume deals. So you had a lot of investors, it was time consuming. We found early on that it wasn't the right market, and we found that a lot of the founders were trying to optimize their investor funnel, right? So we started shifting our focus towards going directly to companies, going to other companies, trying to help those companies like marketing agencies optimize their conversion funnel, because we discovered that this is a sales funnel where you have investors are your buyers, and you want to get them through the finish line and become investors. Where machine learning comes into play is when I saw this problem, I thought, well, this is an optimization problem, and what you're trying to predict is who is going to convert. And why you need to predict that? Because that is the best way to optimize your time. So as an entrepreneur, small company, you probably don't have a lot of time to be going after investors. So you have to use your time effectively. And that's how I try to approach this problem. So how can we rank investors in a way that is useful for the companies, so they can go after those investors and don't spend time on people that won't convert, right?
Right. So you want to be able to focus on these people who are most likely to invest in your company. So they're not customers, but investors. Mm-hmm. So as you're looking at this, like, what is it that you actually tried from an AI point of view? What did you implement? And then what kind of results did you see as a result of that?
Yeah, we tried a lot of things. This is it's always difficult to prove the value of something like this. So what we tried to do is do a very small proof of concept, very relatively small. We brought in a co-op student that was with a math focus, and he really understood well how the math worked. And we started building really simple models, right? Like linear regression, and it wasn't enough. The data had too many dimensions, so we found out early on that wouldn't work. And then we started iterating, cleaning the data that took a big chunk of the time, and iterating over different models, engineering different features. Excuse me. And then what we learned, we started implementing in the next iteration. So, for example, from the linear regression, that wasn't enough. We engineered a bunch of new features out of the data we had, and we made it a little better, but it's still insufficient for what we were trying to do. We moved on to decision trees and random forest. And let me know if this gets
great.
too technical.
No, this is perfect.
Yeah, and then we went all the way to neural networks and implemented a neural network with a lot of different parameters, trying to find the optimal one.
Yeah.
And then we came up with a model that was in a level of accuracy and scores that we were comfortable with. And we decided to go and work with our customers in a kind of an alpha program. The algorithm and the outputs were not in the product yet, but we started sending them the output in spreadsheets and telling them, try this, try to get these investors, and try to see if they convert at a better rate than the ones that you handpick. And we started to see that our algorithm was, in the early stage that it was matching people with lots of experience handpicking investors. And that's when we said there is a lot of value here. So let's start working seriously on it, bring a full-time data scientist into it. And right now we have the algorithm and the output embedded in our product. So when people are going through their investors list, they know what score each investor has, and they can contact them, or they use different strategies.
So it starts off, it's your idea about introducing AI. So you see a problem where you think AI can fit, and you begin just with a co-op student, getting some early results, just a very simple approach around linear regression to something very advanced in terms of neural networks, and then dialing it back to just the solution that you ended up going with, and sharing that with customers, and waiting to get that feedback from them to prove that this is actually useful. So in terms of investment in people and time, like how long does it take for you to work through this, from having the idea to actually getting that positive feedback from a client?
Yeah, we started this program or this project around, I would say, summer last year. That's when our co-op started. We had the idea before. We actually have a patent pending on all this process. I worked with my product peer at the company, and we came up with this idea for a patent, and we started working on that a bit earlier, maybe a couple of months before. But actual work, coding and getting the data, cleaning the data, that started around June, and we started piloting it, I would say 5 months after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part of this? If someone was thinking about doing a project like this, like, is it cleaning the data?
The data it's, I don't know, more than 50% of it. It takes, you realize, or we realized in this process, that the data we had was good, but wasn't great.
Okay.
So you had to clean a lot of the data. We had to invest a lot of time on identifying data points and features that we didn't have, that we should have, and coming up with ideas on how do we do this, or how do we engineer this piece of data that is going to help the process. So engineering features is probably the hardest part.
Okay.
Implementing the different algorithms with a good framework is not really a big deal. It's more about making sure you have the right setup, and then making sure. Something that really helped us is having a tracker of how the different algorithms were doing, and what, when you change one thing, does it improve or not?
Okay.
Because one mistake that we made early on was that we changed 10 things at the same time, and then
so you don't know.
You know what's if something is improving and something else is,
why?
Yeah, you don't really know.
So in terms of getting the data ready, if that's more than half the job, and some reports say it's upwards of 75 or 80% of the job, and it's also not the sexiest part of the job, right? Is there anything in hindsight that you would have done differently to make that go faster or make it less burdensome?
Yeah, maybe having a more centralized place where the data flows would have helped us during the process, because we had a lot of different data sources scattered.
Okay.
And a big part of it is just joining those data sources, finding the common keys. Like, if we had that, that for sure would help.
Okay. And so, in having gone through this project, other than this is the stuff we've talked about around the data, are there any other lessons that you draw from this, and any other lessons that you could share with other entrepreneurs who think, I might have an AI problem, but I'm not sure how to get going on it?
I think the prototyping and POC stage is critical. Like, when you think you have an AI problem, well, there are a few questions that will probably help you solidify that. And one that I always ask when people come to me saying, I think we can solve this with machine learning, I ask, what is the decision that this is going to help you with? And if you're trying to, if your prediction is going to help you make decisions more effectively and with less manual work, then that looks like you have a good problem to solve through machine learning. And then that's kind of the first question. And then the second is, do you really have the data to solve that problem? Because in terms of volume and features, like wide and in rows and columns, is it enough? And a lot of times the answer is no. There is no enough data to solve the problem. But those are things that you really don't know until you start working a little bit with the data and have someone to look at your data and help figure that out. Fortunately, I had a bit of training in machine learning, and I had like hands-on experience, and I could work with the co-op on all this process. But that's something always good to have someone with a bit of experience to help you answer those questions.
And going back to that first part of making sure that you frame the problem correctly and linking it back to your days at the Creative Destruction Lab, is it helpful to think of AI as a prediction machine? Do you ever use that framework?
Yeah, I think that's like the authors of that book are the founders of the CDL,
Right.
and those are the type of questions that everyone coming through the lab is going to get asked, right? Like, what is the cost? What are you optimizing with this solution, and how are you reducing the cost of prediction? They always frame the problems from the standpoint of reducing cost, and what machine learning does in their framework is reducing the cost of predicting and making decisions.
Right.
So if you can have a beautiful machine learning problem in your hands, but if you're making it more costly to make those decisions,
right,
there's no business behind it. Yeah, so that is really important for DealMaker, because we are reducing the cost of having an investor relationship firms taking care of your investors. You can do it more easily with the models that we created.
And you started off very small with your internal team with a co-op student, and then you said you brought on a data scientist. Is your team continuing to grow, and are you continuing to see other ways that you can use AI at work?
Yeah, well, we have right now I have a full-time machine learning engineer in the team, and we have a part-time data engineer that is helping with more of the data preparation process. And we are starting to we're doing a second iteration on the initial project, and we're taking on new projects. So right now I'm not planning to grow the team too much. I want to find other projects that are interesting. But yeah, we have two people working on data or machine learning.
So a company of 100 people can get going on AI with a pretty small team if you've got a good idea and you take the right approach to it.
Absolutely. And look, when we started on this, we were probably 50 people. And
okay.
It's I think there is always a small project that you can work on to demonstrate the value.
Fantastic. Well, I think that should be encouraging to a lot of other small and medium-sized enterprises that this is within their grasp. It's something that they can try.
Yeah.
Okay, that is great. And there's one last question that we ask everybody, and it relates to the movie Iron Man. And he is assisted by his AI Jarvis, who has essentially near infinite capabilities. So it's general intelligence. And so the question that we like to ask people is, if you had access to Jarvis, what would you ask Jarvis to do?
I think I would ask when or what are the steps that humanity needs to take to get us to a place where we are we have abundance of resources, and everyone has the means to get through life.
So I want to thank you again for taking the time and to share your experience and to serve as an example for other small or medium-sized enterprises that think they they might be able to take on AI, and we're wondering who's doing it already. And now, if people wanted to reach out to you to learn more about what DealMaker does, or if they wanted to connect, uh, is there a way that they can connect with you?
Probably LinkedIn is the best way to connect. Yeah, and I'm always there helping and connecting with people about the interesting stuff. So.
Well, thank you very much. And so we'll include your coordinates when we post this. And is there anything else that you wanted to share with people?
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I love chatting about these things. So thank you.
Thank you. And we really appreciate it.